So first, actually, I'm just going to take a moment to do an infomercial, and I have permission to do this, from Tom at least. Machine Intelligence Garage is a digital catapult initiative backed by CAP.ai to provide startups with access to computational resources so that they can get to market or get investment faster by achieving minimum viable products. And Digital Catapult has partnered with a number of organizations to help provide that computational resource. So AWS and Google Cloud are providing credits. The Catapult itself has got some DGX1 boxes, and we're working with newer entrants like GraphCore as well. So I just wanted to make the startups in the audience aware of this initiative. It's completely free to startups. There's a rolling 6-week application process. You don't need to give any equity away. It's very light touch, so if you're interested, then do come and talk to me or Anat over there afterwards, or just click on the link. And we hope to hear from you. So, in the beginning, 2014, there was this machine intelligence landscape which was put together by a lady called Siobhan Zillis, who's an investor at Bloomberg Beta in America. And we thought this was really great, and it was one of the first attempts to try and understand what the applied machine intelligence landscape looked like, what people were actually building using a lot of the exciting research. And it kind of was an attempt to inform, structure, and promote some of the mainly startups in the landscape. But there was sort of one thing wrong with it, we thought. This is me and my co-founders at Juno, Sebastian and Law. It was very North America focused, and we thought there was quite a lot going on in Europe that could benefit from being highlighted. So we put together this landscape, this taxonomy, way back in 2016, which seems like a really long time ago now. And it was useful, but this is one of my favourite quotes. So all models are wrong, but some are useful. This landscape was wrong. If any of you have ever tried to categorise or do a taxonomy for anything, it's always an oversimplification. And there will be some startups that didn't fit into any of the categories that we put together, or that pivoted and so changed, or that fit in many. And we essentially had made the decision of where to categorise them ourselves without their input. Of course, it missed startups out as well. But it was useful. So we were contacted by investors, by startups, by event managers, journalists, public policymakers who were all looking to understand the landscape in more detail and find startups to invest in or talk to or come and talk at their events. But things have got even more busy. So this is Siobhan's third landscape, and actually that is now a couple of years old as well. And I suspect, although I don't know, that the reason she hasn't produced an update to it is that trying to get all of the information about landscape on a single page now is an impossible task. So we find ourselves in a situation where we need to find the signal in the noise, and there is such a lot of information that the requirement to be informed, to have a framework to talk about machine intelligence in Europe, and to promote what's going on here is ever greater. So we need to solve some problems, and for that, Dmitry.
Yep. And so we've decided to kind of launch a community project with the help of Project Juno, AIC, and at the moment myself, and we would like to kind of invite all of you to visit this bit.ly link, where essentially we're recreating the project, using Project Juno's taxonomy of AI startups. We're recreating an interactive version of the landscape in Europe of AI machine learning startups. So if you go, so the current prototype of this map should be live on that bit.ly link, and hopefully the internet is working.
Shall I check?
Yeah, I mean it says online.
Go on, you on you share guest, get off you share guest. Go on to
That's what the problem
go
was.
to L39 visitor. Never use UCL's internet first.
Yeah, so there we are. So essentially we're using the same taxonomy that Project Juno used for the previous versions. And I would just like to do a little demo. And so essentially we're breaking down the 8 startups that we've identified so far, and we actually are inviting anyone who wants to contribute to just kind of visit the website, and you can easily just submit, access a Google form where you can submit all the information that we kind of require. Yeah, and so the ultimate goal is kind of to bring transparency to the market and kind of allow startups to kind of display themselves in one place on the internet, allow investors to kind of display their portfolio companies, and anyone who's interested in AI startups to kind of find everything in one area. And say, for example, I wanted to demonstrate DataIQ, who are one of the sponsors, and so right now you can kind of get the basic information DataIQ and kind of what stage they're at, and obviously as time progresses we'll be able to add more and more information. So for example, if you're a startup, you'll be able to kind of display information on if you're hiring, or if you're a member of certain, say, accelerator, or who are your investors, for example.
Guys, start dialing in now. No, Alex at Selden's already doing it, so.
And then and then ultimately, as we get more information, we'll also be implementing basic analytics. So for example, here we kind of give you a little breakdown of where the funding is going to the startups, for example, and also what kind of industries, based on the taxonomy we have, what kind of industries are getting the most funding. And so obviously the more data we have over time, the more interesting and exciting these data visualizations will become. Yeah. And that's kind of it for me. So the bit.ly link is there. Yeah. So yeah, and if you want to kind of get involved, there are contact details available here as well. And so, as I've said, we believe that using this map can kind of contribute to different members of the community, and with your help, it can be a real help to everyone.
Louis, will you send the links out to everyone?
Yeah. Yes. Do you want to finish?
No, that was
okay. Yeah, that's it really.
Any questions? Any questions for Libby or Dmitry about the landscape at the moment in Europe? These two are brilliant.
Well, the simplest question would be, how does it compare to the North America side, stateside? And I guess second part is, do you have any demographic for the rest of the world, i.e. Asia or Middle East?
Part of the reason that I don't know the answer to that is that we don't have an updated European machine intelligence landscape. Certainly in 2016 there were far fewer startups, and there were some differences in emphasis in where the startups in Europe were working. So for instance, autonomous vehicles was very big and may have reflected perhaps some of the automotive focus of Europe, in particular Germany. But I don't know, and that's one of the things that's become most apparent over the last 2 years. A lot of people have contacted us asking to slice the data in different ways, found out funding by region or location, number of startups, and a static landscape simply can't give that information. So, and lastly, I simply don't have enough connectivity in rest of world to know.
Okay, any other questions, or we can, oh yes, great, one more.
So how do you create the data that you receive?
Originally, the Project Juno landscape was based on a whip list that I kept of all the startups that I came across and met. And we had about 400 startups at that time. That is not a very data-driven, useful way of doing things. So right now, we will pre-populate this dynamic landscape with data that is open from Project Juno, from AI seed, and I would think that we're at about 800.
Yeah, I mean we have data on 800, but right now around 200 startups are listed on the website already.
Yeah.
Round of applause.